Hi, Lori. I keep forgetting to make my appointment. Me too. Hey, Karen. What you do, bitch?
Heretic. Heretic. Heretic.
Here for the Cain. Sexy beast. Are you here for this sexy beast? Yeah, I think so. This sexy beast. Oh. Who wants to pay my dentist bill? Just came in the middle of the day. Another minute or so, and then the sexy beast needs a haircut. I need to charge an admission for tonight's reading, please. As of right now, I owe $266.60 to my dentist for that temporary pretty tooth. $1,300 for a tooth, damn it. Hey, Miss Shirley, I know it's trying to buffer on my end. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. Alrighty. Yep. Look back up here now. Alright, y'all ready? Where's Beth at? She normally attends this thing. What am I doing? Whew. Don't say anything about studying. I just want to read it. Why is it not giving me? All right, yeah, this could be interesting. So I'm gonna do something. Everybody, turn your heads away, cause there she is. Cause I'm getting ready to fuck with the camera again, and I know you guys hate it when I do that. Mr. Matthew. Alright, so I'm gonna have to hold this thing to that. Alright, y'all ready? The Heretic. Heretic Faith by Ms. Beth Hildenbrand. No one has any sympathy for the devil, said Lucifer. Wah. Alright, prologue. The AFFA. In the language of the angels, it was named Salmon Alpha Zizop. In our modern English, it is the house of empty vessels, or simply the empty. The unholy domicile of hell's unwanted was created by Lucifer to house the souls when all essence is gone, when there is no longer anything left to torment. In this place of unrelenting darkness, the hollowed out shells of the most corrupt demons reside, the strongest feeding off the weak. Now in this time, the starving soulless creatures of the Alpha wail in anticipation of blood. These ravenous things are driven by a newfound electric charge sizzling through the endless void. A battle is being waged. Something never before seen has entered their domain, a flesh and blood mortal. A demon's neurotic soul still inhabiting the human body it possessed. The drifting husk-like creatures screeched in anticipation of feeding frenzy. Still, they will not see their hunger satisfied. The first of them fought, darting, snapping, piece by piece it tore at the flesh, only to have it regenerate. Bits of flesh and blood flew to very few of the waiting creatures. They swallowed the banquet. As they grew larger, they began feeding on their brethren. Soon the Alpha began a metamorphosis. A hierarchy was born. The first had more wiles than the rest. It didn't take long for him to realize it was the soul he needed. Now, power pulsing through the once empty vessel, the first began to truly feed. He drew the soul of both demon and mortal into himself. For the first time since Lucifer left him in this void, he was whole. This was the birth of an entirely new creature, foul, vile, without conscience, moved by one goal: hatred. The creature threw its head back, flung out its arms, every muscle strained, taut, as it bellowed its madness. A single name issued forth from growling vocal cords. The creatures of the Apha fled in terror as it screamed the name Cain. All right, let's see. All right, chapter 1. January in Pennsylvania is colder than the proverbial witch's tit. Uh, you bitches would know. The darkness arrives completely and seems to last forever. It was near 1 a.m. when Cain followed the demon into the parking lot of Archer's Bar. His breath made steamy jets of air from the cold. Cain didn't notice the freezing temperature. He had his fury to keep him warm. Ever since the spring when a possessed news reporter had spoken to him while looking at him from his mother's eyes, Cain had become a man obsessed. She had addressed him as son, leaving him to wonder whether or not his mother had turned demon. Cain had a new mission. He was consumed with finding the truth. Now he was about to find out if this demon had his answers. Becoming part of the shadows, he stalked his prey. Cain caught up to the possessed man in Archer's back parking lot. He had only to use one arm to shove the kid against the side of the stone building, then reached its other arm behind its back, pushing upward. Cain moved to grab the demon by the back of his head and smashed its face into the cold stone. His ruby eyes held a vicious glow as he looked into the wild, milky white eyes of the demons. The demon had no choice but to lock eyes with Cain. He was incapable of moving his head while Cain held it forcefully against the rough hewn stone.
Don't uh, don't even consider screwing with me. I'm looking for Eve, and you're going to tell me where she is.
Cain growled. He allowed his talons to rip free from the ends of his fingers, dragging them down the stone from the demon's face. Flickers of spark had the demon trembling.
Who are you looking for? Eve. Where is Eve?
Cain growled into the thing's ear, finding pleasure in the lesser demon's fear. With his inky eyebrows drawn down and his fangs extended, Cain was a pants pissing nightmare to mortals and demons.
I, I, I don't know what you mean, whimpered out the borrowed mouth.
Cain grinned the smile of a hungry predator as he pulled its head back by the hair, then proceeded to bash its face once again against the stone interior. Cain hissed as he heard two sets of boots running up the alley and coming to a stop behind him. He pulled the human's hair back once again and battered his face into the stone. Cain, Faith barked, stop, you're going to kill him. Cain didn't respond. He still lacked the information he sought.
Did you hear that?
He growled quietly into its ear.
They know I'll kill you. Now, do you have something to tell me?
Cain, please, Faith pleaded. Cain ran the razor-sharp talon along its throat.
Eden, it groaned. She's being held in Eden. Liar. There is no Eden anymore.
Faith ran forward with Micah coming up behind her. She whipped out a flask and threw the holy water it contained on the possessed boy. Immediately, a shrill wail broke the silence of the night. The body Cain had pinned to the wall began to thrash. With a ripe curse, Cain released his hold. The body fell to the ground convulsing. Cain turned burning scarlet eyes on the daughter of his heart. Ignoring his anger, Faith held out the silver cross that hung from her neck. In the name of Christ, I command you to leave this boy. Return to hell where you belong. An oily black cloud formed over the body. It turned into a swirling mass, then darted into the ground at their feet. Micah took his eyes off the spectacle and turned them on his employer and friend. What the hell was that? What the hell were you doing? None of your business, Cain replied blandly. You don't question me. In my world, it's do as I say, not as I do. You taught us beating on an innocent is a no-no. We just found you headbanging with one and you say it's not our business? Bullshit, Micah bitched. Even in anger he appeared angelic. His ash blonde hair, a bright halo around his charmingly handsome face. He's right. What happened to hurt no one and keep a low profile? Faith argued. Those are your rules, not mine. Cain calmly took a hard pack of Marlboro Reds from the inner pocket of his leather jacket. He pulled one out and clamped it between his full red lips, then lit the cigarette with just a thought. As the pair stared at him in open-mouthed wonder, he took a long, deep drag, the tip of the cigarette glowing nearly the same color as his eyes. Now, help me with this. Cain used his smoke to point toward the boy laying on the ground. I want to get inside and finish my beer. In oily, whoops, Cain refused to look at the confused disappointment clearly etched on the faces of the two he cared for as his own. In his dark world, there could be nothing to stand in the way of the job at hand. If he slipped up, innocence died. After tangling with Magnus and the losses they suffered due to Cain's own mistakes, any more innocent lives lost was unacceptable. Terrazon stood behind the bar. He enjoyed watching the little drama with Cain and the kids play out. Being a demon himself, one of Legion to be specific, Ter recognized the possessed easily. He saw Cain keeping eyeballs on the demon-infested human for the last hour. He was not surprised when Cain evaded his friends to follow the thing. Even less surprised when the kids called on and followed Cain. All in all, being above was vastly more entertaining than hell. After being Lucifer's enforcer, did miss the killing. Now that he was working for Michael, killing was a big no-no. He was starting to get itchy for some action. Maybe tonight he'd get lucky and have a bar fight to break up. If not, he would have a gaggle of females waiting for him at closing. Tara's exotic looks never failed to get him some tail. His true red hair and amber eyes dazzled the ladies, as did the fact he was built for sex. Sounds like Nina's kind of man. Standing at 6'10", with a lean, muscular build, men stayed out of his way and women drooled. That suited Tara fine. He had no desire to make friends, and he adored females. Tara took it in stride when Cain and the kids returned. Cain had no idea his bartender was one of the fallen. Michael had been the one to shield Tara. No one or no being could break Michael's shield. All of the answers Cain was looking for were standing right in front of him. If Cain knew the truth, he would be one seriously pissed off immortal. Returning to the bar, Cain sat on his usual bar stool with Faith and Micah flanking him. He rapped his knuckles on the bar. Tara went over and handed them each a fresh Budweiser. Faith looked shyly up at him. She smiled. Thank you, Tara. Tara just grunted and gave her a nod. That made her give him a real smile, one that lit up her wholesome face. This was the girl Michael had ordered Tara to keep eyes on. She was a good girl. something that befuddled the ex enforcer. Being one of the original fallen, Tare had not experienced kindness since before the fall. He couldn't understand how she could be so decent to him under the circumstances. Faith's fiance, Gray, had been the previous bartender. Only 9 months earlier, Gray had been murdered by a demon. Tara couldn't fathom that she would not resent his occupying Gray's space behind the bar. Cain finished his beer. Tara overheard him tell Faith he would see her at home in the morning, then watched as Cain got up, approached a blonde, and left the bar. A minute later, Micah followed suit with another blonde. Faith sighed and shook her head. Blondes, she snorted. Tara looked at her with one perfectly arched red brow. Yes, I know, I'm a blonde, she sniffed, baby blues flashing. Faith laid some money down on the bar and stood to leave. Tara pushed the money back at her.
You okay to drive?
He grumbled. Tara. Faith put on a shocked face. I didn't know you cared, she teased. Tara's forehead scrunched and his eyes squinted.
I don't.
Faith laughed at his denial. Take care and try smiling. You might like it. Damn, but he almost did crack a smile. As looking at her back as she left, Tara muttered under her. Let's try this again. Get my tongue out from a knot. Tara muttered under his breath.
I really need to kill someone.
Faith stood next to her car. She was parked under a pool of light. Mama Pop Archer kept the spot under the only outside light reserved for her. Her keys were fisted tightly in the palm of her fingerless leather gloves. Despite the cold, she still felt an icy shiver run up her back. She sensed something was off. Slowly, she rotated her body to get a good look around. Not easily frightened, Faith had learned to trust her instincts. There was nothing that she could see that should cause her trepidation. That didn't mean something wasn't there, hiding in the shadows, lurking close by. Shivering, she gave herself a shake. For some reason, a quote popped into her head. She dared to speak it out loud, giving herself goosebumps. Something wicked this way comes. Adam caught the scent. Adam caught the scent. Even after all this time, he could recognize it. Cain had been here. Adam stared at the abandoned building. The human he was riding remembered this place. Adam went around the back and threw his shoulder into the locked door. Wood snapped. The door splintered, allowing him entry. He wandered between the empty shelves that had once so lovingly held books. With each step he took, he walked through the detritus, another word, of Faith's once beloved bookstore. Taking a set of stairs, he found a cozy apartment. From the frou-frou and the light powdery scent, he knew a female had once resided here. It would be a good enough place for him to stay until he finished what he came to do. Since escaping the AFA, Adam had been making his way to this place, Adamstown, Pennsylvania. He laughed at the irony. Cain Adamson. How dare the bastard take his name? But then, he didn't know Adam was not his father. Cain was unaware of what Eve, whore that she was, had done. Well, he would find out soon enough. Cain killed his son, his true firstborn, blood of his blood. Now at last, Cain was going to pay. Adam was on a holy mission. The Father had made sure he survived for this purpose, to rid the world of the first evil, a child created by Lucifer and Eve, the bastard boy born from adultery. He raised his arms wide and threw his head back. In his frenzied state, blood pumping through his veins, Adam sported an erection born from the lust of his convictions.
I am here, Father. I am your instrument against the perversion of humanity. I am the righteous sword that shall cleanse them with fire and blood. Your will be done. With his hatred rolling inside him, Adam wanted to finish it now. Unfortunately, the body he inhabited needed rest. Trying to navigate this new world, even with his host's memories, had worn him down. He had managed to rob a man and had used the cash to acquire food. He still had some of the money left, but these abandoned lodgings would be fine and cost nothing. Adam found the bedroom. He peered into a mirror, seeing his son's face reflected back at him. He had no idea how this human had his dead son's visage, but it was a blessing, a motivator. He was anxious for the time he would see Cain look into the face of his first victim, his brother. You will pay, Adam snarled. I am his vengeance. I am his wrath. Adam disrobed, admiring the lithe body he wore. He got into the bed, pulling at the blankets while enjoying the softness of their fabric. He closed his eyes and was quickly asleep. Dreams of death and blood comforted him. Chapter 2. Lucifer stood embracing the carnage that surrounded him. His golden hair hung in clumps, saturated with the vicious black blood of his demons. His otherworldly beauty twisted into a nightmarish demonic mask. The aftershocks of Lucifer's violence still ricocheted through the halls of hell. He had been robbed. Two of those damned assassins from the Order of the Key had breached the gates of hell and taken the gospel of the Son of Morning. The book was his personal telling of the angels before and after the fall, written by Lucifer himself in his own blood. Now it was in the hands of the Bloody Seven, seven angelic assassins whose sole mission was to guard the key to the gates of hell. They carried with them the swords of Solomon. Each sword held a piece of the ring King Solomon was given to control demons, making the swords deadly weapons even those of Legion feared. Lucifer kicked a severed head, cursing his inept and unsuspecting soldiers. Fools! They should have known better. He must be getting soft in their fear. He must be getting soft if their fear of the Bloody Seven was greater than their fear of him. Those the angels had left alive, Lucifer had torn to pieces for their mistaken judgment. Failure was not an option as far as Lucifer was concerned. Over the silence of the dead, Lucifer became aware of a faint whimpering. He followed the sound, striding carelessly over the corpses of mutilated demons until he found its source. His eyes locked on two brutalized female bodies, Eve and Sindal. He had sent them here to the dying Eden as punishment for their betrayal. Lucifer had entered the fight in time to see the two battling to keep his book hidden in the decaying tree of life. Fighting to save the book had almost made up for their betrayal. He had thought they were killed in the battle. He would never forgive them, but he could use them. Both had ties to the key. Grabbing each of them both by the hair, Lucifer pulled the two away from the carnage. He would have them cleansed and tended to, then he would decide how they could be best put to use. As he made his way through to his office, he dumped the women unceremoniously on the floor. Then he called out for his right hand. Beelzebub. I always have a hard time with that name, y'all. All right. Beelzebub, get your ass in here. When he received no answer, he tried again. Get your fucking ass in here now, he demanded. He reached out with his mind and could not find his brother. A chill went down his spine. He could not remember seeing Beelzebub in Eden during the battle. Where the fuck was B? Yeah, Nina, I know that Mr. Matthew is Beth. You silly bitch. Thank you, Vincy and Beth. Cain rolled off the blonde. It had been a particularly memorable hour, but he had taken the edge off. It hadn't been a particularly memorable hour, but it had taken the edge off. Thanks, sweetheart. The deliciously satisfied woman gazed at him with large chestnut eyes, heavy from sex. Won't you stay? She purred, pointedly studying his cock, which at the moment relaxed in magnificent splendor. I would love to have you for breakfast. The double meaning had not gone unnoticed by Cain. This was the part he dreaded. He knew he should have waited until she fell asleep and just taken off then. But something was niggling at the back of his mind, telling him to get out of here. Sorry, I have to get home to my wife, he lied through his teeth. She's a lucky lady, she said with a lazy grin. You can come back any time. I will be more than happy to accommodate you. Thanks for the fun, he replied insincerely. Maybe I'll run into you sometime. I'd like that. She twisted her slim body to give him another look at what she had to offer. The lush curves were nearly enough to entice him, but his sixth sense, poking at him, saying that something was up, kept him moving. Oh, what the hell, Cain thought. Reaching down, he ran a hand over her creamy skin from breast to crotch. It only took a minute to finger her into another orgasm. He smirked as she went boneless again. While she lay savoring the satisfaction, Cain grabbed his clothes from the floor where they'd fallen. Yeah, why don't you get some rest, sweetheart? Cain pulled on his clothes and made a quick exit. As soon as he hit the cool pre-dawn air, an all too familiar snarky voice battered him inside his head. A voice belonging to someone he was royally pissed off with. And the first thing it said pissed him off even more. Hold on. Okay. Okay. I was trying to find who the voice in his head was so that I could come up with the right. Vincey, here's one of your favorites. I'm going to do the witch voice for this one. It's about time. Couldn't you have hopped off the ride a little sooner? Cain slid in behind the wheel of his Midnight Blues 1969 Corvette Stingray. Any, he answered aloud, knowing she could hear him. What the fuck are you doing in my head? Maybe you should try picking up a damn phone once in a while. Oh, I forgot. You're too busy fucking around to get the hell back here. Amy, the notorious witch of Ender, had left after Cain's showdown with Magnus. She had taken Jamie Archer with her. Jamie, a novice witch, needed to be trained in the magical arts. Amy had said they wouldn't be gone more than a month. That had been in the spring. The two had not returned. Cain and Jamie had briefly been involved. She had claimed to be in love with him. He knew it would never last. Relationships with mortals were the last thing he needed. Recently, he found himself tangled up in too damn many. As much as I would enjoy it, I don't have time to argue with you. You need to get your ass home now. Faith needs you. And he answered, then promptly quit speaking. Thanks. Nice to hear from you. Leave a fucked up message and disappear. That's what you're good at, bitch. Any popped back, incapable of allowing anyone else the last word. You call me a bitch like it's a bad thing. Cain reversed the car out of the driveway. When he hit the gas, his baby flew. He was damn thankful he was close to home. If anything happened to his girl, he would go full on psycho killer. Faith threw her coat and purse on the kitchen table. Cain was up to something, and she was damn well going to find out what was going on with him. He had been spending the lion's share of his time in the library lately, so that was where she would begin her investigation. Inside the library, she went to the long mahogany table and switched on one of the two banker's lights. The table was littered with everything from ancient scrolls to pottery shards
to modern anthropology text. A yellow legal pad had some sort of ancient script scribbled in Cain's hand. Well, that was no help at all. Whatever notes he was taking, he obviously didn't want her or Micah to be able to read. Frustrated, Faith stood still, taking a moment to think. She nearly jumped out of her skin when she heard movement coming from the other side of the room. Cain had the house warded with a blood spell. The only people who could find the mansion hidden in the woods were Cain, herself, and Micah. Anything else would have to be supernatural and have an overabundance of power or be of Cain's bloodline. As far as Faith knew, there were no survivors of Cain's blood. That left only the option of something incredibly strong. Shit. She couldn't be lucky enough to find a nice friendly monster, could she? Carefully looking behind her, Faith saw two beings in the shadows. They looked to be two huge males. One in a semi-seated position cradled the other in his arms. At this point, she couldn't tell if the prone one was dead or alive. Trembling, Faith crept closer. They were both coated in the black blood of demons. The one propped against the wall cracked an eye and spoke.
Cain.
Faith wasn't sure if she should give up the fact that she was alone. Her caring nature, however, answered for her. He's not here. Is there something I can do to help?
Cain.
He answered. Really? He isn't here. I can try to call him. Is there anything I can do?
Would you like some water?
Faith silently cursed herself. She had no idea who or what these beings were. She was dependent on instinct alone, and her instinct sensed no danger. Whatever she had felt earlier was nothing like the feeling she was getting from these two.
Please.
He nodded. Okay, I will be right back. Faith hurried to the kitchen, dialing Cain's number as she walked. No answer. It went straight to voicemail. He was probably still between the legs of the blonde he picked up. Shit. She scurried back to her unknown visitors. Faith held up the uncapped water bottle. When it became apparent that he would not take it from her, she held it to his lips. He could only sip slowly and nodded his thanks when he had enough. As Faith was frantically trying to decide what to do next, the slam of the front door caught her attention, making the decision for her.
Faith!
Cain bellowed.
Faith, where are you?
We're in here, she called out. That scratched my throat. Cain was in the room before she finished the sentence. His eyes widened when he saw her kneeling beside the two killers.
Faith?
He began in a steady voice, using the type of carefulness a parent would use as they saw their child trying to cuddle up with a lion. He spoke.
I want you to go to your room, please.
It was the softly spoken please that once again made her worry. But the man had not made a move to harm her, and she felt a tingling memory trying to surface. The man seemed familiar to her the more she looked at him. She just couldn't place him. It's all right. They won't hurt me.
They could kill you with the blink of an eye,
Cain informed her. But I've been alone with them. They could have killed me by now if they wanted to. All thoughts of easing her out of the room vanished. See, that sounds like a 4-year-old arguing with the parent or guardian, with the adult in the room, over why you shouldn't play with knives or scissors or whatever else. All thoughts of easing her out of the room vanished. Cain stormed over to her and pulled her to her feet. It was then the one Faith thought dead blinked his eyes. He looked to his friend, moaned in pain, and let his eyes close again.
He said you owe him and the girl will not be harmed.
He spoke to Cain.
Son of a bitch. Am I really supposed to take your word? He said she won't be harmed. What about you? I give you my word. I will honor my brother's vow. Son of a bitch, Cain repeated. He ran his hands through his thick black hair. Looking at Faith's pleading face, he knew he was trapped. Fine, fine, but I'm going to want explanations as soon as we get him taken care of. I can't give you explanations. Then you can damn well pick up and get the fuck out. You brought your shit to my door. No explanations, no help. Another moan of pain came from the one near death. Fine. You will get your explanations. Now, will you please help my brother? Faith, go up and get a room ready, then grab the first aid equipment. Cain directed her. Meet me in the green room, she instructed and hurried off. Cain bent down to take Laodicea from Sully. The angel refused to turn his brother over, no matter the pain it caused him. In one fluid movement, he was on his feet with his brother in his arms. Follow me, Cain ordered. Oh, was it good? Was the witch voice good? Great. I just like to add a little humor to it every now and then, and I'm limited on my female voices, so if I can do that one anytime, I try. But it's not really a natural voice, so I have to wait for the supernaturals in order to use it. Chapter 3. Okay, this will be about right. Chapter 3. Lucifer paced his office, with his amethyst eyes glowing and death hanging from his 7-foot frame. He hardly looked as if he belonged in the finely appointed chamber. It looked like a horror movie dubbed Death Comes to Wall Street. What happened to his right hand? Why couldn't he find B? This was hell, his own fucking domain. Lucifer heard the rap on his door. Enter, he roared, his voice loud. Enter! He roared. There we go. His voice was loud enough to rattle the clutter occupying space on the opulent furnishings. Two demons with skin swirling green and yellow hesitantly entered, their heads lowered in submission to their prince. In their arms they carried a mutilated Beelzebub, his leonine head nearly severed. Lucifer growled, pouncing on the pair. He took B from them. I'm just using, you started it, I'm going to continue it. I'm going to use B because I have a hard time with that name. He took B from their arms. Get out! Take the women with you. Make sure they are cared for. The demons hurriedly did as he ordered. Lucifer carefully laid B out on the floor and knelt beside him. Lucifer felt B fading. Lucifer was the darkness. There was no light within him. He did not have the power to heal, only to destroy. But he knew who did. In desperation, he cried out, Michael! I need you. I offer you safe passage into and out of my realm. You will be under my protection. Before the final word left his mouth, an ethereal light filled hell. Even the greater Lucifer shielded his eyes from its brilliance. In a moment, the light dimmed, and Michael knelt beside Lucifer and their fallen brother. Save him, Lucifer demanded. Do you demand this of the prince as the prince of hell, or do you ask as my brother? Save him, Esiek, Lucifer asked, using the Enochian word for brother. If I save him, I will have to return him to his true form, Michael told him. Do it. He has wallowed quite long enough in his demonic guise. Michael held his hands above the mortally wounded fallen angel. Again, the light filled the room. Again, Lucifer turned his head, this time trusting that his brother would do what he asked. When Lucifer at last was able to render his gaze upon both of his brothers, he beheld a sight he had not seen since the War of the Angels. Michael, with his sapphire eyes and long silken black hair, stood shoulder to shoulder with B. In his true form, B was as awe-inspiring as any of the archangels. Snow white hair hung below his shoulder blades. Don't take it personally, Beth. For some reason here lately, when I read, I yawn. I get sleepy or I yawn. That's the reason I can't get through any of my books lately. Eyes like multifaceted diamonds shimmered with fire. Looking at B was akin to staring at an ice sculpture come to life, yet consumed by flames. Those diamond eyes locked onto Lucifer's amethyst eyes, alight with amazement. Lucifer shifted his gaze to Michael. Following Lucifer's eyes, B realized who stood beside him. B released a growl that had the inhibitions of hell trembling. Michael stood his ground. Only the curl of his upper lip gave away his intentions. As B raised an arm toward Michael, Lucifer froze his fallen brother in place. Why did you stop him? Michael snarled. I've finished him once. I have no problem going for round two. I promised you safe passage, Lucifer explained. If I give my word, I keep it. And that is why they call you the father of lies. You didn't want your pet hurt. You can't protect him forever, Lucifer. With that, Michael vanished into a blaze of light. Lucifer barked an angry laugh and shouted to the heavens, Michael, don't you go away mad. Just fucking go away. Laodicea lay on a forest green coverlet still as death. He was nude except for a fluffy towel draped across his groin. Faith had done what she could, but the angel was as damaged as the inside on the inside as he was on the outside. The blonde stood still as a statue at the bedside. Cain had paced and cursed while she had rendered what medical aid she was capable of, which was rudimentary at best. Faith sat by the brutalized angel, watching for any sign that he would awaken. Just as she felt herself relax, there was a hissing pop at the end of the bed. A demon stood shrouded in a red haze. This demon was unlike any other she had seen. The Incubus Magnus, who had pulled her under his influence, had not exuded a fraction of this one's enormous amount of power. The blonde angel, whose name she discovered was Sully, roared. Before she could blink, he held an incredible sword in his hands. Faith had never seen anything like it. The sword hummed with music of its own, a whistling dirge, almost as if it were already tasting the demon's blood. Sully hissed a name. Sundriel! The demon smirked and raised a sword of its own. Two damaged assassins. Easy pickings. I owe you both for the last time we ran into each other. You fucked with my right to stay above. Paybacks are a bitch, pretty boy. Come and get it, Sully taunted, swinging the deadly weapon. The lights in the room hissed and popped, leaving them in near darkness. The light emanating from Sully's sword gave off a glow enough to spotlight the combatants. It was that moment Micah burst into the room. In the split second the demon turned its head to Micah, Sully raised his sword. A hushed whisper was the only sound as his sword flashed through the neck of the demon, then a thunk as its head hit the floor. Black blood sprayed Sully. The blade of his sword absorbed the blood, leaving it as pristine as if it had never been used. Fuck, that's going to be hell to clean out of the carpet, Cain benched, earning him a scowl from Faith. Do you think I would get? Do you think I could get a shower? Sully asked straight-faced. Faith and Micah gaped at each other, then simultaneously looked at the head on the floor. A huge black mass rose from the body lying beside the bed. Sully spat at it,
Instead of darting downward to return to hell, the black smog simply sizzled, feeding on itself, then ceased to exist. Faith, please show Sully the shower and where the towels are. Micah, help me with this mess. We'll roll it up and take it out to burn. You're going to have to buy a new rug. This one isn't coming clean. Damn, demon blood is impossible to get out of fabric. Cain lectured, then looked at Sully. After your shower, we talk. Sully simply nodded in response. Faith stood and waved Sully into the bathroom. Follow me. What y'all think? Whoops, wait a minute. Oh, it's not, the chapter's not over. Sorry. It was the way it ended. I thought it was in. Terror roared as he shot a load into the girl he brought home with him for the night. The tiny blonde reminded him of Faith. She had been one of the usual willing whores. He had actually needed to work for this one. She was the quiet type. His size had obviously intimidated her, as well as his mean-ass look. He played it smoothly, told her a few jokes, got her giggling, so she was less intimidated by the look of him. Between that and her girlfriends urging her on, she had finally agreed to go home with him. He could tell by the glazed look in her eyes she was happy with her decision to come home with him. He smiled at her, then rolled over, lit a cigarette, and took a deep pull off the bottle of Jack on his bedside table. For some unknowable reason, Tara felt a pang of guilt. Ever since he had come above to make his home here and work for Michael, he was having flashes of emotion totally foreign to his demon nature. He was beginning to wonder if Michael had put some kind of whammy on him. He shrugged it off. Now was not the time. The girl wrapped herself around him. She was a sweet little thing. This pleased and annoyed him. If she turned out to be a clinger, had ways to handle it, but damn, he shouldn't like it. Tara chalked it up to her similarities to Faith. He enjoyed the feel of her hot, wet pussy against his leg. So much better than the demon whores in hell. He grabbed a handful of plump ass. She had a great ass for such a small thing. His cock was immediately hard again. She let out a squeak of surprise as he rolled over to mount her again. Just as his cock made contact, an electric shock ran through the length of his body. He cried out in pain and fell to his side. The blonde looked up at him, terrified. Sleep. He waved a hand before her eyes and watched her collapse. Fuck! He cried out. He ran his hands, shaking in rage, through his sex-tangled mane of red hair. One of his brothers was gone, winked out of existence. It was a rare occurrence that one of the Legion was taken out. Son of a bitchin' assassins, motherfuckers! Tara probed the spirit realm. All of Legion were connected. He could feel all of them except Sundrill. Enjoy the apple, my brother. He held up the bottle of Jack, tossing his head back to toast the loss of his fallen brother. Everybody's got to die sometime. He waved his hand in front of the sleeping girl. Wait. She blinked at him, not remember ever falling asleep. He pulled the soft, slight body up against him, sighing at the feel of her warm, flushed skin against his. Where was I? He smiled a predatory smile, then greedily clamped his mouth onto her breast. Now it's the end of the chapter. So I guess that's a good thing if the voices are killing you, right? Come here, my little pretties. All right, ladies. Thank you, Miss Beth, for letting me read your book tonight. And that will be it for this week, ladies. I get a break tomorrow night. So I told you ladies last week, Miss Shirley, I hope you're still listening. I told you ladies last week that the weather we were having wasn't going to last long. Well, it was 80 degrees on Sunday here. The high on Saturday is like 34, and there's a mixture of snow coming, snow mix of some sort coming Friday night and Saturday. Yeehaw! Alrighty, I'm out of here, y'all. I'm tired. It's been a heck of a week, and I have been busy as a little bumblebee. So, y'all have, I know, Miss Shirley, that's what I'm saying. So, y'all have a good evening, and I'll talk to some of you in the morning. Love you, girls. Happy reading.